Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. I have a super special guest that you're going to love and learn so much from. I have Kim Severson with me today, and I cannot wait to dive in with her because I have witnessed Kim go through such an amazing shift and transformation in what really does not feel like a very long time in her business. And so I asked her to come onto the podcast and share all the things with you all of what's working, what shifts she made, what's allowed work and business and creating clients to feel so much easier than it used to. So we have Kim here, and I will have you introduce yourself and just tell us what you do. And then we're going to dive into some fun manifestation stuff.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jamie. I'm so happy to be here. So my name is Kim Severson. I like to say that I'm the weight loss coach for people who hate dieting. I am the host of a podcast called Weight Loss Doesn't Have to Suck. And I help people lose weight without deprivation, restriction, all the things that we hate about dieting that just feel like too much and make us want to quit. We don't do any of that. I help my clients lose weight through a lot of connection to their body, communication with their bodies, learning how to listen to what their bodies are telling them, and then be able to honor those cues and signals.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah. Who doesn't want that way of losing weight? In fact, I mean, that's really what you have to get to, I think, in order to lose weight long-term in a way that's peaceful. Yeah. But like, yeah, that's magic. Yeah. I love that so much.
Me too. It changed my life, and I'm so happy to be able to bring that to all of my clients.
That's amazing. And your business has been booming. It's been growing. I've been watching you just creating client after client. You had a big quantum leap this past year. Yeah. I think it was soon after you joined the money manifestation movement, right?
Yeah, I went within a couple of months of joining the movement. I went from one single client, and I had a contract coaching job at the time, but one single client in my own practice to 17.
Oh my gosh, Kim.
So quickly. It was crazy.
What time period was that?
I would say that was within 3 months of starting the movement. Wow. It just, things shifted so quickly for me. I couldn't even believe it.
I have to hear what shifted. I really want to hear, right? Because like the thing is, when you're a coach, it's so fun to coach everyone, but you really don't know what's going on internally that's working for everyone. That's why I love these podcast interviews, because I learn so much from it, right? I get to see, what was it that actually landed? What actually worked? What was it that allowed you to go from one client to 17 in 3 months? And it was actually, it was so sweet. Some of you in the movement sent me a birthday message that was just, oh my God, I was crying, like hearing all the messages and everything. And what you wrote in there, I'm like, I didn't even know this, Kim. Like what you wrote, I wrote it down here because that's what inspired me. I'm like, I got to get you on the podcast because I want to hear all the things. So you had said, I am so grateful that I found you and your work. I truly believe that it saved my business, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, what about this saved your business? Yeah. I'm so curious to find out more and like what it was that helped so much.
Yeah, that is absolutely the truth. When I say that, I'm not embellishing at all. So I was in kind of a dark period when I found you. Well, I had been following your work for years. Like I remember you when I was getting my certification through the life coach school, and I had done a bunch of your free trainings. I actually still have notes from one of your free trainings like years ago hanging up on my bulletin board over here. So I had followed your stuff and just like, I don't know, didn't feel ready to take the leap or got distracted with other things. And then my first year of business, it was all about hustle and pushing myself and thinking that I needed to learn how to do business or be an entrepreneur or market the way other people were doing it in this kind of like aggressive, hustly way that I didn't realize it at the time, but it felt so wrong. Like my whole body was resisting all of these things that I was doing, but I just thought that that was the only way. So I was pushing myself, and then I eventually burnt out completely. And I was really considering whether entrepreneurship was for me or not. I was leaning toward it not being for me. I was really thinking that, like, I knew I loved coaching. That always felt so natural and wonderful. And I love that part of it. But I thought that every other piece of the business just wasn't for me. Like I wasn't wired for it, or it wasn't, it wasn't made for me because I didn't want to market in that aggressive way. And so I had a really challenging couple of months leading up to finding your work. And I was like so burnt out. I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not working at all for the next couple of weeks. And I'm just going to look for clarity. And I'm going to figure out whether I want to keep building this business or I want to go work for someone else. And around that time, you were doing Manifestathon. I think it had already started. And I kind of jumped in there a couple of days into it and started watching the recordings. Just like, this is something interesting. This is something I'm going to get into, or just see what Jamie's offering. And I immediately had shifts. Immediately, just watching that. Every day, it just shifted my energy so much. Things just started to feel lighter. I started to feel more hope and possibility about maybe being able to do business my way, or being able to kind of lean on my intuition to guide me in what the next steps were. But what's interesting, before I started watching Manifestathon, I had decided, I pretty much decided, I'm going to just get a job working for somebody else. And I wrote down, I want to do that. Here's the salary I want. I wrote all these details. And then I started watching Manifestathon and everything was shifting. And toward the end of the 5-day program that you were doing, somebody sent me a job posting with so many of the details that I had written down, like the exact salary that I had written down, so many of the things that I wanted. But by that time, I was like, I had so much renewed hope for my business and so many other ideas for how I could make business work for me that I was like, I don't even want to work for somebody else anymore. So just in that free training, I had a lot of shifts.
Wow.
And and then at the end, I was not planning on joining anything or investing in anything, but you started talking about what the program entailed. I was blown away by the value for the price, even before I got in there and I really understood the value. And it was just a no-brainer at that point. I had so many energetic shifts during Manifestathon that I was just like, I need more of this. I need to be in this energy. I don't know what's going to happen in my business. I just know that I feel better when I am doing this work. And so I joined, and the rest was history. And, what shifted in my business was that I realized that I enjoy it when I'm doing it my way. And my intuition is guiding me toward what is right for me. And I started recognizing, when I was feeling those full body no's, all that resistance in my body, in response to the way other people were recommending I did certain things, that was a sign that I could learn to follow and trust. And so that was one of the major things that shifted for me.
Oh my gosh. So good. So is that what changed then, is you allowed yourself to start tuning in and saying no, even though other people say this is the way to do things, you listen to the inner voice and listen to, it sounds like that part of you inside that's like, is this for me or isn't this for me? And you actually allowed yourself to listen, which it sounds like previously you didn't. Is that accurate?
100%. And one of the first things you said in terms of how we decide to show up or what we decide to pursue in business is what feels like fun and what feels like me. And I was like, okay, if I just start there and ask myself those questions, then doing all of these things just feels so natural. And it's interesting because when I first started in the money manifestation movement, I gave myself the permission to put everything down. I was doing the webinars and the social media and the email marketing and the funnels and all of that. And I was not enjoying so many pieces of that. I always enjoyed the coaching. I always enjoyed my podcast, but I was like, I'm going to give myself permission to put all this stuff down and just follow those questions. What feels like fun? What feels like me? And I
Yeah.
started there. And what's so fascinating to me now is just, I don't know, 6 months later, not that many months later,
Yeah.
I'm doing these things that I was like, I never want to look at my email sequence ever again, or my funnels ever again, or I never want to be on social media ever again. Like that felt so awful to me. And as soon as I started following my intuition and started following my fun, all of these other things, suddenly I was like, I could do TikTok or I could do another webinar. It just made it like opened things up for me in a way that I wasn't expecting, if that makes sense.
100%. Because I think it's like, it's always, and y'all know, listening to my podcast, if you've been listening for a while, and all my clients know, it's like, it's always, it comes back to what is the energy behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like previously the energy was, I have to do these things to be successful. These are the things that I have to do to have a business, which feels terrible. It feels tight. Then we come from our brain. We're not listening to like what we actually want to be teaching. We think we have to do it in a certain way and manipulate ourselves into this certain box in order to have a coaching business or any business, right? But it's like, as you give yourself permission to let those things go and tune in, you shifted your energy. And then from that energetic shift, then it's like you can do things from a different way. So what do you think your new thought or your new energy is that's driving you to maybe want to do a webinar or get on TikTok or social or look at your email sequence? What's the difference now, do you think?
Well, it's a couple of things. I think in the past, was forcing myself from that hustly energy. It's like, I don't care if I'm inspired or not. I have to obey my calendar. I have to just create content all the time, every day. And that shift was a big deal for me to be able to go from that to I'm going to create when I'm inspired, which ended up being most of the time anyway.
Right,
I'm feeling that inspiration and creating a good bit of the time. But when I'm not, I give myself permission to kind of rest and rejuvenate. And then I come back to it when I'm ready. So it was just that little energetic shift of like, you don't have to do this along a certain timeline, or you don't have to squeeze yourself into these boxes. You can, again, follow what feels right to you and feels like fun, and trust that the inspiration will come.
Yes.
So that was a big change for me. And that was really impactful. And then when I let that happen, as I said, I was surprised by how much that like inspiration was there all the time. And so now really the shift is I'm not doing anything because I have to do it. I'm not doing anything because I think that that's what will get results for me in my business.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I'm inspired to do it and because I want to help people.
Yeah.
I was able to shift my energy into like, wait, what is the point here? It's not to like reach certain business goals or check certain boxes. It really is to connect with my clients and help them. And I thought at one point that I could only do that in my sessions. Like that was the only time I was connecting to clients. But I realized that I'm doing that when I send an email. Like I imagine the person that is helping. I'm doing that when I do a post on social media. So it was really just shifting my focus and shifting my energy all along the way.
Oh, good. And people feel, why did you get 17 clients in 3 months, right? Or like 16 additional clients in 3 months? Because literally people feel it on the other end. It's not like a conscious, like, knowing of what it is, but you can feel the difference whenever you're watching someone who's thinking, I have to do this to be successful and I should be doing this. And they're doing a webinar because they're trying to check it off a box. They're not doing it with love or passion or thinking about the client, right? Like they're in their head thinking, how do I have to do this to be successful? Versus 100%. When you make that one shift. And I think it really is literally just letting go of, I have to do it. You let go of that and it frees you. And then the inspiration, just like you experienced, Kim, can just rise up. It can just be there. It can happen. You don't have to like try so hard. And the way that people receive the energy of, I'm literally here to connect with you. I want to help you. I have the answer that you're looking for and I can't wait to help you. Like people are just magnetized and it's kind of mind blowing. And I know that our like ego brain doesn't quite get it. It's like, wait, I'm working so much less, but so much more is coming in and it's scary. And I remember coaching you like the first 3 months in the movement, you were just like, what's happening? Like, I don't get it. I'm working so much less and people are coming in and this doesn't make sense. And I remember you were like, is this a fluke? Right. And like, we did a lot of work around like, this is safe and this is actually sustainable, right? It is something that's replicable. If you just keep doing it, you'll keep getting clients. Because I think a lot of people let go of what their brain and what they've been taught for so many years it takes to be successful, and you let that go and shift into something different. And it's like, wait, what? This is like messing with my mind. I don't get it, right? And it doesn't feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was mind-blowing because you just think that the more I am hustling and working and actively doing stuff, like the more I'm sitting in this office chair, the more productive I'll be, the more results I'll create. And just to experiment with like, what if that's not true? What if prioritizing what feels good to me and prioritizing my energy, what if that actually accelerates my results? And the whole process feels better. It just, it took some time to wrap my brain around that. But of course, that is so much of a kinder way to build a business. It feels so much better.
Kind of like
so it was
loss, right?
That's something that I wanted to say. This is exactly what I teach my clients with weight loss. Anything that feels like you have to force it or you have to follow all these rules and you have to do these things that feel really terrible to you. Of course we want to quit that. It's like a whole different kind of burnout, right? Like we can't sustain that. So when you shift that in weight loss to like, okay, well, what am I up for today? What feels doable and realistic for me today? Let me start there and build on that, because I know that those little changes are going to compound. It's the exact same stuff as business. It just, for some reason, took you telling that to me for me to really feel it.
I mean, same for me, right? I actually started with weight loss was my niche too. And like, relationship with body. And I realized I do the same work now. It's just with money. And what's really fascinating about this is when I hired Daniela to work with me and help me kind of repurpose content, what we did initially, because I didn't have a lot of content around money. So I said, take all of my emails about weight loss, body, all my past emails, insert money. Let's see if it works. It worked. I'm like, it's the same thing, right? It's all about our relationship to something, right? It's all about it's about our energy with it, right? So that was fascinating how they really do go hand in hand. And it's, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you can be taking the exact same actions, but if your energy is different, you're creating completely different results. It's the model too, right? All of this is different 100%. Versions of the same thing.
Yes. So I'm curious, because your kind of trajectory of working with me has been, you got into the movement first, you manifested 17 clients in 3 months, right? So you started in there, and then you joined the mastermind, and we just completed the retreat last week. So I'm curious, in terms of that evolution, what did you find that in the movement you started learning and that started changing for you? Maybe it's the energy piece, maybe there's other pieces. And then what about as you upgraded into the mastermind, was there anything that was different there?
So many things. Okay. So really a lot of the work that I did when I first got into the money manifestation movement was around my money stories, which I didn't even realize were that big of a problem for me or tripping me up as much as they were. And as soon as you had us do the money mindset audit and all of those things in the amazing workbook that I have gone through probably 6 times at this point, because I keep revealing new layers. But I discovered that I was operating in a lot of money scarcity, despite looking around at my surroundings and being things are pretty good. It still felt inside this rush to create results. And the very first work that I did in the movement was to, instead of scarcity, to start reprogramming those thoughts that were creating scarcity. And look for abundance in my daily life now. Okay, if nothing ever changes, if my business never grows, how are we like perfectly fine and living in abundance now? And really cultivating gratitude for things as they are now. That's where I started, just kind of
Yeah.
dropping a lot of that scarcity. And what I noticed at that time was every time I would spend any money at all, I would think about the money going out and the lack. And that's the very first thing I started turning around. And you recommend that we do this in the program, really just honoring every time you spend money, honoring that money and feeling gratitude and thinking about the good it's going to do in the world. And so that created a lot of changes in me. Again, I started prioritizing my energy and prioritizing downtime and really using that time to do thought work, to do intentional manifestation work, to consider that as part of my workday. That was huge for me.
Awesome. Yep.
Yeah. So I started to just do those things. And that's when the clients started rolling in, which was amazing. And I was feeling better. Everything was going so well. But the reason I joined the mastermind is because none of that felt like my doing.
I remember this. Yep.
Yeah. It just felt like random or like a fluke. And I remember other people in the mastermind at the time saying like, I just learned the skill of making money. Like I just learned that it's a skill that anybody could learn. And I learned how to do it. I was like, that's what I want. I don't want this to feel like a fluke or that it's like something beyond my control, or I'm just kind of like waiting here, waiting for clients to come to me. I want to know that this is something that I am creating and that I'm actually in control of the results. And so that's why I joined the mastermind, to take it from like, okay, I know I'm feeling better and I know business is feeling better and I'm watching these results come in, I'm watching my business grow, but none of it feels like I'm in control of it. So I joined the Soulful Six Figure Mastermind to just kind of cement that like, this is my process and I can trust it and it works and I know how to go forward. I know the next steps. And I really do feel like all of that is true for me now, even though we've only been doing the mastermind for a couple of months. So
I know it's been 2 months. Totally. 100%. Yeah. What is your process? I'm curious. Like if you were to think about I love asking this question. And I think all the listeners should answer it too, because I know you make money. So don't say, I don't know how to make money. If you're listening and you're like, I don't know how, it's not true. If you have money, you know how to make money. Right? Yeah. But I would ask Kim, what is your money-making process? Like, how do you manifest money? If you look back at the 6 months that we've been working together and you've made so much money in your business, what did you double your income from the year before or?
Gosh, well, Jamie, I don't even really track my numbers that much. Yeah, it must have been at least doubled. But one thing, and this is something I'm still working on, and we've talked about this a little bit as well, like setting a really specific money goal for me, it brings up a little bit of scarcity and a little bit of rushiness. And so I just like to kind of be like, and I know Daniela said this as well, like, show me how good it can get. I'm not focusing on anything super specific. And I just kind of let the process do what it does. I don't know if I'm explaining that super well, but
So your money making process isn't to cling to a specific number, but it's more of let me see how good it can get, opening up to abundance. What would you say are some of the things like that let's just say if you were to put it into 4 simple steps or something like that, or 3 simple steps of what you would do if you were in the place you were back in March of last year before we met and you were thinking about, manifesting another, working for someone else. And you were like coming to that version of you now, right? Your future self, which is actually the present you, is going back to the you in March who was questioning, can I do business? What advice would you give to her?
Yeah. Well, we had discussed this on one of our one-on-one calls, and I love the way you helped me kind of find this process within myself. Because I thought when I joined the mastermind, like, okay, if money is a skill, making money is a skill that anyone can learn. I kind of thought you were going to share that process with us. Like, here's Jamie's step-by-step process. But I love that you turn that back on me because it was within me. Like I actually already knew it. I hadn't articulated it to myself, or I didn't realize that wisdom was within me. So when we were on that one-on-one call, we together outlined what my step-by-step process was.
Yep.
And the first step I realized for me was to really get solid on my offer, like my product, my coaching, to really get solid on exactly what it is that I offer my clients, how it's unique. And this was step 2 of the process, is to really get to know my ideal client and why we are like a perfect fit for each other and how my coaching specifically can help them. And then step 3, which is sort of the process that I'm in now, is just getting out there more, doing more marketing, getting in front of more people, not in a hustly way, but just from that energy of like, I have the solution. I have this very specific way, this very different way of teaching weight loss that resonates with people, and just sharing that and sharing that much more widely than I had been doing. And then part 4 of the process was, I hate to even use the word selling because it's like, I think of it more as just helping. I hate to even use the word selling. I say more of just helping, because it is showing people, like my people, the people who resonate with my approach to weight loss, it's just explaining what that is to them and how it's so different from restrictive diets. It's so different from anything else out there. And the more I share that, which is essentially selling, but just the more I explain it, it will resonate with the people who it is meant for. And that's all I'm doing, is just telling them about it. And that, just thinking about it that way, releases so much pressure.
Oh my God, I love it. And you just described what selling actually is. By the way, right? It's so funny, right? We have this connotation, it's like icky, it's this thing, it's doing things, it's trying to manipulate people, it's doing, having to do it in the right way. But actually, true selling is what you just described. That's all selling is.
Yeah.
That's true selling right there.
Yeah. And I wish more people would describe it that way, because I was like, I don't want to be sleazy. I don't want to like talk anybody into anything. And that's not what it is at all. It's really just, and this is another phrase that you use, it's like letting your light shine more brightly. And then the people who are right for you and the people who are aligned with you will see it and know that it is right for them. And that's all you have to do. It can be so easy.
Yes, that is it. And doesn't that sound so much better than like some of the things we've been told we have to do, right? Like, which is 100%. Totally fine. I am not like anti-marketing at all. I mean, obviously I market the heck out of my business, but again, it's like, it's the energy it's coming from. So same with selling. It's like, what is the energy behind your offers? What is the energy behind when you're on a consultation? It matters so much, and it either attracts people in or repels them. So it's like, marketing is absolutely amazing, and you can pick and choose what you want to do, but like, just look at what's your thoughts behind it? What are the feelings behind it? Because you are selling, you just have different thoughts. It's not like I'm trying to get them. It's like, no, I really want to help them. I want to connect with this person, right? It's so different. It feels so much more open and expansive. And then you're like, wait, it doesn't feel like selling. It is, but it doesn't feel like what our brain thinks selling feels like, right?
Right. And the whole process of shifting my perception of what selling can be and how it can feel started with you telling me about your program on Manifestathon, which essentially was selling, but it just felt so like warm and loving the way you explained it. Like, hey, here's what's amazing about this program. And if that's what you've been looking for, which for me, it totally was, here's why, it would be amazing for you to, like, it can be that simple and that straightforward. So it was amazing to have that example, seeing you do it and seeing how natural it could feel.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Yeah. I love it. And the world gets to benefit because you decided, right, that you can do things in your way and that it doesn't have to feel awful, and you can trust your intuition and you can slow down and it's not urgent, and you rewired your relationship with money. It's like, because you had the courage to do all of that, I'm just thinking about how the world is benefiting. There are 17 humans whose lives literally are changed for the rest of their lives because you were willing to say, I can help. You were willing to shift your energy and do this work, right? I'm just thinking like the contrast of like, even if I hadn't showed up and did that 5-day challenge, right? And I wasn't willing to show up and give from love, then, you know, you wouldn't have found this. You might have attracted that job, right? It's just everything happens so divinely, right? The universe was like, no, Kim, you are not supposed to take that job, right? Here, drop in, here's Manifestathon. And like, you're meant to have this business. And like, because of that, and you're just getting started. I mean, this is just, you know, you're just getting started. And yeah. I want to hear one last thing. I'm just curious, did anything shift for you during the retreat? Because we just, you know, we've been 2 months into the mastermind and we just finished up the retreat. Were there any shifts there or anything in terms of like what's next?
Oh my gosh, so many shifts, so many shifts. Well, I will start by saying, so I was working with 17 clients at that one point, but it's been so many more since then. Like clients have finished up and new clients have come in. Yeah. And so as I was sitting in the airport waiting to board the plane to go to the retreat, I was onboarding a new client. And then when I got off the plane after the retreat, I got an alert that another new client had signed up and was about to start. So I was like,
while being at the retreat, not doing web, right? Like not posting. That's amazing. I love it.
So what a beautiful way to begin the retreat and end the retreat with new clients on either side. So that was lovely. And I think also being, I mean, just the energy and the atmosphere of the retreat was incredible. And being able to do that at the start of the year was so lovely to be able to just like get our intentions set and do all of that deep thought work. Starting out the year. So I feel really set up and I have so much clarity and direction and I'm just ready to I'm ready to go. So that was all great. It was so, I mean, you brought together the most like wise, powerful group of women I have ever been around. It was incredible. Every single person was inspiring and fascinating to listen to and just to be in their energy. That was incredible. And it was helpful to see. There were some women there that were, you know, a couple steps ahead of me in business, and just to see what they were doing and to get inspired by their process and to hear about how they create what they create. That was just great. I mean, how often do we have the opportunity to do that? And then to be able to kind of hang out with each other and go to dinner and talk business. And
totally. Totally.
So,
and that's another thing that happens when you let yourself be yourself in business, right? And you let yourself like, hey, what would be fun? How do I want to do it? And just being natural, not trying to fit into a box and being someone else. What ends up happening is you manifest clients that are just like you. Like I always say, I manifest clients that I would be best friends with. And then I oftentimes end up being best friends with them, right? And like, I feel like I'm with all my besties right now. Like it's the best feeling ever. And everyone's aligned. And you're not the only one who said that. Like I had one of my clients was like, wow, I think this is the first like group retreat that like everyone's on the same place emotionally, right? Well, maybe everyone's different in terms of like what businesses they do, where they're at in business, but everyone's really on the same kind of energy level and the same emotional level. And it was really, really special. So I'm so excited for what's to come after that. And, you know, you have 4 more months in the mastermind. So we're just getting started.
It was just so perfectly timed to get everything, you know, to get aligned, to get centered with what I want to create next in business right at the beginning of the year, and then be all set up to just hit the ground running and go.
Yes, I can't wait. So I want to hear more then. Yeah, what's that?
And not from a hustly place either.
Exactly, right. And it's like passion. I mean, I came back from the retreat, even myself, I'm like, I feel like I went on my own retreat. It was like an out-of-body experience in the best way. And, you know, you would think after hosting this huge retreat and setting it all up that I would be tired. And I was Monday. I got a massage, I drove home. But yesterday I worked from like 9 a.m. to like my husband's calling me at 8, like, Jamie, dinner has been sitting here for an hour. Come on. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. You can leave it. I have all this. Like, it was just like passion was coming out of me, and it's not hustle. It's like, I just couldn't keep, it was like, oh my God, this stuff needs to be birthed through me, right? Like, I have to get it all out in the best way.
Yeah, I had the exact same experience. I was on the plane, just like filling a notebook with new ideas, new content, like new things I want to talk about on the podcast, even new tools that I want to use with my clients. I just had this like epic download of all kinds of new things that I want to try. So I think that's another thing too, is like giving yourself that space to shift energy, to think, to kind of just like let your brain float and let your brain be, and coupling that with being with such inspiring, amazing people and doing the work that we did. Like, it just opens up these channels.
Yeah, that's why retreats are now a part of my business plan, because it does something, right? It opens you up, being around those kind of people. It's different than anything else, right? It's different than being one-on-one coached. It's different than just, having mastermind calls, which all of that is like shifts all through, through time. But I feel like going to a retreat, it's like you get in this vortex that just opens you up in a new way, up levels your self-concept. And it's like, okay, let's go, right? And then you get to implement that over the next, 6 months or so. And, throughout time, really. But that's how I love going, like every 6 months. That's why I host them every 6 months. So I love that, Kim. That's so fun. And congratulations on your new clients.
Thank you. I had that kind of quantum leap. I got all of those 17 clients at once. And then I had a little lull after that. And that's when I was sort of doubting, like, oh, was that just a one-time thing? Would I ever be able to create that again? And you were like, well, what if this is just a nice little lull? And it was amazing that it was around the holidays. It was a nice little break. And what if you can just trust that when you are ready, things will start building again? And they are. So
yeah. Totally. Because I think you secretly wanted a little break, because I
100% did.
You. You were like, I think I need this to slow down a little bit. You're like, this manifestation thing is amazing, but this is a lot, right? And it's like, also, it's really important that we have those calibration periods and those downtimes. So I do really feel like the universe is always working in our favor. And I know things are getting amped up again. So yeah, that's amazing that you trusted that and you really let yourself enjoy the holidays. So that's good. Yes. Yeah. So I know for sure that there are listeners who are like, Jamie, I love this manifestation stuff and I love it around money and I love it around business, but I do not have a great relationship with my body. And I would love to release some weight this year. And I would love to do it in a way that feels kind of like this. And Kim, that's what you do. So I would love to hear a little bit, just briefly, of like your story with that, how you got into it and how you serve people, like what your offer is.
Yeah. So I came into the coaching world through my own weight loss journey. I worked with a coach to lose weight in 2019. After having tried every diet and every method and every plan and every app under the sun, I tried them all. None of them worked for me for all the same reasons that business wasn't working for me. It just felt oppressive. It didn't feel like my way. It didn't feel sustainable or realistic in my life. So I was about to give up on weight loss entirely. And I just happened across my first coach's podcast. And it was just like, oh my gosh, everything finally made sense. And I realized that there could be a new way for me. So I lost 35 pounds in 2019. I've kept them off ever since, which is amazing. It's one thing to lose the weight. It's another to maintain
COVID.
it.
You kept it off through COVID.
Thank goodness. I had all these tools during that time. And at the time, I was working in the food and wine world. I was doing events. And during COVID, all of that shut down. And I had a lot of time to think. And I was just listening to every coaching podcast I could consume. I just loved this work, but I never thought about doing it professionally. And then a friend was like, do you think you should become a coach? And I just started thinking about it more seriously and joined certification and never looked back. It just felt so right for me. And I knew that I wanted to help people lose weight because that was my gateway into this world. And it really just shifted everything for me. When I realized that I had the capacity to do that, which I did not think would ever happen for me,
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, what can I do? And then the whole world opened up. So the way I teach weight loss is very different than any other diet out there. As I said earlier, all of those things that most people hate about dieting, the restriction, the deprivation, the feeling hangry all the time, having to like count and track and measure every single bite you eat, that's what gets old really quickly. And that's what people find unsustainable and oppressive. And we don't do any of that in my program. I help people lose weight by learning how to connect with their body. So our body is giving us messages all the time. It's talking to us all day long, but most of us, through a variety of reasons, we forget how to listen. And so I help people get in tune with what their body is telling them about when to eat, how much to eat, and what to eat for weight loss. So they never need an external source ever again. They'll always know. And they can eat according to what feels good for them, what amounts feel good in their body. When they eat in those amounts, how they feel afterwards. We pay attention to all of that so that it's not about like half a cup of this and a teaspoon of that. It really is about what's right for you, what feels good for you. And then, so we learn to tune into and listen to our bodies. And then there's all sorts of reasons we don't want to do that, right? Like when we're stressed, when we're overwhelmed, when we're tired, there's all kinds of reasons why we hear our body signals, but we don't necessarily want to listen to them or honor them. And that's the work that we do in my program as well. I teach you more tools for emotional regulation or having cravings or nervous system dysregulation so that, yeah, we can have food in our lives for fun and enjoyment, but that's not our only tool for coping with our lives. We have much more effective tools than that.
Amazing. So good. So I definitely want to hear, and I know that they all want to hear, where can they connect with you? Where can they find you, follow you, or if they want to work with you, where would be the best place to go?
Right. So I have a podcast called Weight Loss Doesn't Have to Suck. It's on all major podcast platforms, so they can find me there. All of my information about pricing, or you can book a consult, all of that is on my website. It's KimberlySeversonCoaching.com. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Kimberly Severson Coaching. So yeah, come hang out with me in all the places.
Definitely go hang out with her. She's awesome. Like I said, I manifest the best clients. So yes, it's such an honor to have you on here and share your story and your brilliance. And I am just so happy that you decided to go for it and do things your way. And you were willing to, show up, you joined the movement and you did the work, and now look what's happening. You're changing the world, and I'm so excited for you. And I just can't wait to see what comes this year. So
it was oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. As I said, it was divine timing. I found you exactly when I needed you, and it just changed everything in my business. And I'm so grateful I get to do business this way.
Right. So good. Yes. I love it. Thank you, Kim.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Jamie.
Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.